Yo, what is good, y'all? Welcome to the 3-on-3 pod, where we have three different hosts giving you three very refreshing points of view. We're talking all things basketball, not X's and O's necessarily, but everything around it. So the fashion, the social justice aspects, people doing philanthropy, like the racial dynamics, gender dynamics, we have you covered. And look, my name is Chris Williamson. You might know me from CBS Sports HQ. I do a lot of hosting with the NFL, NBA, MLB, WNBA, you name it. If it's a sport, I'm probably covering it. Then I also get my political and social justice commentary down at TYT, the Young Turks Network. So you can also find me out there. But I got two really badass co-hosts in Didi and Terrika. And Terrika, I got to get the floor to you now.
What up, Joe? What's going on, y'all? It's your girl, Terrika Foster Brasby. Super excited about this podcast. Very happy to be here. You guys know me from all things WNBA. Some of y'all might know me from some MLB stuff, too, which is really dope if you do. But I'm all over everywhere when it comes to WNBA coverage, from ESPN to NBC to CBS Sports HQ to the Around the Rim pod, and now 3-on-3. So I'm super excited to be here. Hailing from Detroit, Michigan. You know I'm going to put it down for the 3-on-3 all day, every day. But speaking of putting it down, our third partner in crime, Didi Richards, is in Australia balling it up. So I'm gonna kick it to my girl Didi down under to let us know what she's into.
Hello, my 3-on-3 lovers. I am so excited for you guys. First off, good luck today. I'm so sorry that I couldn't be there. I'm so sad that I'm not there. But I'm having so much fun in Australia. I am. I'm loving the team. I'm loving the coaches. The organization is amazing from top to bottom. I play for the Sydney Flames. Just such a positive environment out here, and I'm happy that I'm able to experience it, because I felt like basketball really wasn't loving me back. Not to get into TED Talk or anything, but it really wasn't in the last couple of years, and now I'm genuinely feeling love everywhere and embraced, and it's really exciting. And another beautiful thing, I'm out here during summer, so I went from summer to summer. So don't be upset when I'm on Instagram in the heat with my bathing suit on the beach, because that's where I'll be half the time if I'm not on the court, and y'all will be in flannels and parkas. So sorry, not sorry. But other than that, I miss y'all. I'm so sad again that I won't be on the show, but I know that I will be there next week, and I cannot wait to turn up with y'all. But hold it down. I'll be listening, and I'll talk to y'all next time.
All right, Didi, thank you so much for that little report. Hey, I was jealous. I seen you posting, talking about you in Australia in your bathing suit. I'm like, I need that sun.
I know. I'm hating low key. I'm hating low key for real.
Forget low key, man. High key. High key. Forget low key. But you know what is high key and not low key at all is the WNBA Finals. But before we get to that, we got three segments usually in the show. The tip off, the 3-man weave, and we got the jump ball. 3-man weave not happening because of the sensitive subject matter that we're going to be talking about in a little bit. But those are the three segments that you can expect pretty much every week from us, more or less. But the WNBA Finals, Terrika, is now going to a game in New York, Barclays Center. That place will be jumping. After the Liberty come out, I won't say they smacked the Aces in the mouth, but they showed a lot more fight and scrappiness in Game 3 when they had no other choice but to win or was go home, and they found a way. Jonquel Jones was amazing. But aside from the aspect of how amazing Jonquel Jones played, Benaiah Laney, so many other players, you got Sabrina in there with her blocks, what was the atmosphere like? Because both of us were there.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, it's 1-1.
Listen, first off, let's get the people the truth. We was both there living it up because we was both there in the suites. Okay.
Okay, I wasn't gonna flex on it.
Sure was. I'm gonna flex on you. I'm gonna flex on you real hard, sure, because I earned that suite invitation. Okay, so we went up there in the suites doing it real big, and I found out that Chris was in a bigger suite than me, and so I felt some type of way, and I had to go and kick the door down. Like, I know you're not gonna be in this suite and not invite me. You know what I mean? So there was that. However, first off, the atmosphere in Barclays is crazy, and I've been so excited about the way that both Las Vegas and New York has really turned the volume up when it comes to a WNBA Finals. The fans are not only on 1,000, but the star power in the building is crazy. The atmosphere in terms of the celebrity guests, the halftime performances. Coming up for Game 4, New York is going to have Joel Santana and Jim Jones. I'm about to go find my Dipset shirt because it's about to go down up in Barclays, okay? I'm just so excited about the way that they are making a conscious effort to be intentional about how important it is to really show up and show out for a WNBA final. So from that aspect, it's been phenomenal. But New York had their back against the wall, Chris. Like, they knew this was it. There was no nothing. There was no extra. There was nothing. This was it. This was the final straw. They had to come out and really play basketball. And Jonquel Jones had been that person that had really been carrying this team. I mean, when I think about Game 2 in Vegas, I didn't think anybody showed up but JJ. She's the only one who showed up. Double performance. She was like, I've been here before. I was just here last year, and I know what it feels to go home with nothing. So I think she had that conversation. She brought that intensity. And then when I talked to them in practice the day before, they also were telling me, like, yeah, JJ brought the team together. And you know JJ from the Bahamas. I'm pretty sure that West Indian came out. And she was like, I'm going to tell y'all about yourself. Y'all need to get it together. And so you could feel the difference in how this team was. They were a little bit more focused, a little bit more. They were a little bit more. I don't want to say less. I don't want to say that they weren't really interactive with each other, but you could definitely see that they were a team with a goal. Las Vegas, on the other hand, God, I love this Las Vegas team. They're so familiar, so they're more free. And they came into this game, I think, a bit more free. And because of that, adding to the Chelsea Gray injury that I know you and I are going to talk about in a moment, I think that the crowd behind New York, the focus from New York, and then just sometimes the jitters of, the difficulty in closing out. Closing out a series is hard. Like, it's not easy to just walk in any building and close out a series. That's hard. So I think all of that combined is what helped to propel New York to forcing this thing to a Game 4.
No, absolutely. I mean, they had everything working for them. And even though like they won, it wasn't as if they blew the Aces, out the water. They had to fight and keep that game or keep that lead, at a healthy amount. Because in the fourth quarter, there's a point where it was like a 6-point game. You thought maybe the Aces were going to make the run, but they just couldn't hit the shots. They weren't in synergy as we're so used to seeing them. And yeah, going back to that Chelsea Gray injury, where it happened when she was guarding Breanna Stewart, who had an amazing game as well, specifically defensively. Some of these blocks that she had on Asia, other players, was really good. But Chelsea Gray had a non-contact injury, and we saw her limping up the court after that happened. And then when she goes to the bench, we see her mouth, something popped. I felt something pop. That right there, Terrika, is probably the worst thing you want to hear if you're her teammate, but also an Aces fan. Because what do we know when things pop and there hasn't been any contact? It's usually an Achilles tear. Hopefully that isn't the case, but this just dramatically changes the series where potentially, I should say, where the Aces are going to have a lot of people on their bench and their starters really step up to make sure her loss is not felt as much as it expected it to.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. There were like photos and a little video of her back behind coming from the locker room where she couldn't even put any pressure on that foot. Like, she couldn't walk on it. She was seen leaving the building in crutches. So it was, it's one of those things where you feel like the Aces team, from an injury standpoint, really have already had enough with Candace Parker. She was supposed to be the hugest piece, the biggest piece. And then now Chelsea, who brings so much more than just, being able to score, being able to facilitate. She brings experience. Like, she's also been here. She's a champion. She knows what it's like to be in this position. She brings some poise to this team, right? And she brings some fire too. Like, when things aren't going the right way, Chelsea will very much get in the huddle and tell them to get their ish together, right? So she brings a lot. And it's just really devastating. And then, you know what? The other thing is too, Chris, we're going to have to hear the bullshit, right? We're going to have to hear if New York wins, they didn't win against a healthy Aces team. They didn't win without Chelsea Gray. And it's frustrating. And it's also unfortunate because no one wants to feel or hear like they may have potentially won a championship because of some other thing that didn't happen. You want to feel like you went out there, played your best against the best, and actually, got the job done. And now if this does swing in New York's favor, it's going to feel as if there's, some type of asterisk because Chelsea Gray wasn't there. And this team is good enough to use the current point guards that they have. None of them are going to make up for Chelsea Gray. They're not going to make up for her facilitation. They're not going to make up for how she, sees the floor. It's not going to make up for any of that. But Kelsey Plum is not a scrub. Jackie Young is not a scrub. Like, there are people who can come in by committee and kind of help facilitate this thing and help make this thing go. But man, what a loss is it for Las Vegas if they don't have Chelsea.
Right. We still have not received, as today, as this recording, as this episode will be uploaded Wednesday, October 18th. We still have not heard anything from the Aces. They canceled shoot-around last minute. Don't know what the reason was, but if something happens like that, usually something came about. And just hopefully Chelsea will be able to, if not Game 4, if there's a Game 5, she'll be able to play in that one because you feel like you're robbed from that greatness and everybody being at full strength, so to speak. But we've seen the Aces beat them without Candace Parker. We've seen them beat them with Candace Parker. But potentially without Chelsea Gray, yeah, that is going to be a tall order. And I just hope that the conversations are going to be not ridiculous in terms of, the Liberty, they don't win. It don't matter. Because here's the thing, Terrika. When you look at NBA Finals or WNBA Finals, any type of postseason, there's always, most often, some type of injury that happens or previously happened where they're not at full strength. So it's a matter of luck. And I think the Aces have had really great luck during their championship run last year, right? And this year, because, they've had people go down, but their main five, they've remained healthy. They have not missed any games. So it's like, is it an asterisk? Because you could go back and be like, well, that was an asterisk because she wasn't healthy. Or she wasn't healthy. But look, at the end of the day, the game will still be played with or without Chelsea, unfortunately. And I just hope that they give us a show. One thing I do want to ask you, though, Terrika, is I know you saw Sabrina Ionescu at the end give the night, little night show, right? The little night signal after she hit the three, to put Vegas away for all intents and purposes. She had 9 points of 3 of 9 shooting, I think it was. She did have 11 dimes, so respect there, 100%. But what did you think about that? Especially because as somebody who covers the Connecticut Sun, they did that, Natisha Heidemann did that last year. And the next game we saw what happened.
Listen, I'm going to give Sabrina a break this time. And why? I'm going to give Sabrina a break because I talked to Sabrina after the game. And Sabrina played a little bit of defense. I know we're not about to get heavy X's and O's, but we definitely saw a shift in this New York team once Sandy Brondello shook up the defense a bit. She put Sabrina on Kia Stokes, put Stewie on Chelsea. I was like, oh, okay, this is what we doing now. And it was working. And Sabrina had 2 blocks. I have called Sabrina a defensive liability. I've said it a million times, and I've stood on it because it is what it is. And I don't mean it to be insulting. It's just some players play defense, some players don't. I mean, look in the NBA. James Harden don't play no defense. Ain't nobody mad if we call him a defensive liability.
Right.
You don't play no D. It is what it is, bro. It's what you don't do it. So I said the same thing about Sabrina. It's like, Sabrina don't play defense for real. Like, it's cool. She just don't do it. She plays some defense in game 3. And I asked her about it. And Sabrina's so petty, which is why I love her. She's so petty. She looked at me and I said, dang, Sabrina, you got 2 blocks. That's what's up. And she was like, yeah, I don't want to be a defensive liability. I said, oh, you listen to your girl. Okay. I'm cool with that. So I'm gonna let her live. Go ahead and night it up, Sabrina.
Not only did she tell you that, like, yeah, I don't want to be a defensive liability, but you saw how her head cocked, right? She was like,
yeah, she did.
She was like,
she said, you better respect my defense. Do it again in game 4. Anybody can do it once, Sam.
Right.
Do it again in game 4.
Yeah, anybody can have a great moment one time, but if you really about that life, you do it multiple times. Again. Somebody who does not have an issue playing defense is Victor Wembanyama. The Spurs' #1 draft pick, the #1 overall pick, and he has been absolutely sensational to watch. So after the break, we're going to dive into how special he's looked. Yes, it's preseason, but he has looked the part so far, and you make sure you remember that you're listening to the 3-on-3 pod. We'll be right back.
So NBA season is about to be underway, and we are super excited for it for a bevy of reasons. But I can't help but think that the #1 reason that we are probably excited about this season is we get to see what has been dubbed the French sensation, Victor Wembanyama. And how lucky is San Antonio to get 2 French players to really show up? Because you remember they had Tony Parker, and he was pretty darn good too, 4-time NBA champion, Hall of Famer. Now you get Wemby, right? And he has been someone to watch in this preseason game. Now, I don't believe he played against the Heat, but no, he did play against the Heat, but he didn't play in the last preseason game. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter, Chris, because he showed out against Miami. And this San Antonio market is so excited about him. I mean, first of all, the game was on NBA TV. And since when are we getting like San Antonio in a preseason matchup on NBA TV? So that right there lets you know that, people are excited to see this guy. They've got murals about this dude already posted up all around San Antonio. They've already sold 4,000 some odd plus tickets, like to certain games. I am honestly a bit shocked at how much buy-in San Antonio has done for this guy, and yet he's making them look right. What are your thoughts early on about how Wemby has performed?
I feel like Wemby has shown up to fulfill, the legacy of what everybody expects him to be. We're following in the footsteps, of the Tim Duncans, of the David Robinsons, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, that type of culture and that type of stability that Greg Popovich had for so many years. But yeah, because in the preseason, or not in the preseason, but in Summer League, maybe as expected, he did not look, he had his flashes. Then there were times where he did not look, as in shape. And the game was, coming at him at a fast pace, and that's expected. But for him to be doing what he's doing now in the preseason, where he's, quote unquote, headbutting Chet Holmgren, in the lane, and that rivalry's already starting a little bit. And he's flexing his muscles. He's not afraid, to be expressive. And then dunking over Thomas Bryant, like where his whole body was completely outside the restricted area. Mm-hmm. And at his wingspan, Terrika, it doesn't make sense, right? I cannot even conceive it in my head of another human being being able to do what he did with his long-ass reach, right? And there was one, when he dunked on Thomas Bryant with his left hand, there's a video out there where Thomas looks at the crowd as if it's in an episode of The Office. Like, you just saw that, right? Like, what you want me to do? He's 7'4" with, a wingspan that spans probably my entire room. And there was another play where he came down the court in the half-court transition. This man did an in-and-out crossover, step back, pull up mid-range from the elbow. And I remember I had to do the highlight for that for CBS, and I said, ain't no way, man. Like, how are you going to stop that? Like, yeah, it's preseason, but still. And I just hope that he's able to stay healthy, because a lot of times with people who are as tall as him, and depending on his, body stature and his weight, they're not able to stay healthy as long as we want. So that is my only concern with him. But he looks like a guy who is going to do all the hard work. And if you have that and you're under Greg Popovich's system,
yeah,
they're going to build around him.
Yeah.
My thing is, do you expect him to get all the hype that we saw from LeBron for like each game during this season?
I do. I mean, the dude dropped 23, 4, and 3 in 23 minutes. You know what I mean? And I mean, and to be fair, I know he wasn't playing against like, the superstars of Miami, which is fine. But at the end of the day, I think you saw enough that it makes sense that people are as excited about him as they are. Because I don't think we have been this excited about a prospect since LeBron James. And I know that coming into, and I'll be honest with you, Chris, I'm hard on people coming into new leagues. I'm tough on them for a reason. I'm tough on them in the NFL. I'm tough on them in the NBA. I'm tough on them in the WNBA, because I feel like when you are playing against other folks that are not in the what's considered the best leagues in the world, like it's a little bit easier to kind of show off and showcase your talent a bit. I mean, when you're the best player in college, everybody that you're playing against isn't going to be a professional basketball player. So it's a little bit easier to really show off and showcase skills. Even when we're playing overseas, not everyone who plays in an overseas league is a superstar, right? You got some very good players who play overseas. You've got some great players who play overseas, but not every overseas talent would level up or measure up, and I'll stand on this, to some of the talent that you see in the NBA. And so hearing all of the noise about Wemby coming into this season, I was like, dude, I mean, I know he's 6'4". I know he has an 8-foot wingspan. I know all of this, but like, let's just see what he does when he gets here. Like, let's just see. You know what I mean? Like, let's just find out what happens. And then you see it and you're like, okay, y'all was telling the truth. Y'all legit. And I think this is so great for San Antonio, because this is, for one, I feel like this gives Pop a reason to stick around a bit. I was starting to get the feeling that Pop was about to call it a day. He was about, I'm done. I think it's about that time for me to start to think about hanging this thing up. And I think Wemby gives him something to look forward to, something to continue to revitalize what this San Antonio atmosphere market is like. As we remember, when San Antonio was popping, it was a great place to visit, a great place to watch championships, 4 of them. I mean, seriously, this was, again, a place that I think folks enjoy, that sneaky defensive, not a lot of stars, quiet players, but still one that you got to really you really got to see me. You really got to come through and see me. And this West is stacked, right? And this just adds to that if he can truly be as good as advertised.
Do you think, excuse me, I'm getting emotional because of all the, theatrics and dramatics that he brings to the table. Do you think the Spurs are going to be, or I guess a better way to ask it, when I look at this team and the roster they have, I don't expect them to go to the postseason, right? I think it's going to take some time. But do you feel like how do you think the Spurs are going to manage Victor and his minutes? Because we all know about load management. The NBA is cracking down on that. There's a bar now if you want to reach all NBA teams or be eligible to be MVP. And they just came out with a study, although we didn't see any reports or like any data. It was like, yeah, studies show that actually there is no effectiveness, there's no benefit from load management. Which is like, okay, that's a little convenient, but still, that's what the NBA put out there. How do you think they're going to manage his load to make sure that he is not overextending himself for his rookie season? Because he's going to have a lot of ups and downs, and particularly downs when it comes to the big boys bullying him down low, like the Giannis's of the world, Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid, because those guys are stacked.
Yeah. Yeah. No. You know what? You make a good point, Chris. I don't ever have a problem when it comes to that with the San Antonio Spurs situation. The only time that I ever was concerned about how San Antonio managed a player was when Kawhi was going through his thing. And I think that was less of San Antonio mismanaging and more of Kawhi just won't be there no more. Kawhi was just ready to go. And so, people do and maneuver and maneuver themselves differently when they're ready to be out of a situation. So that's what I felt about Kawhi. I don't really think that that's going to be an issue. This guy's young. He's in really great shape. They know that he's somebody that's going to be box office, that everybody's going to want to see him. They're going to want to, know what's going on with him. I don't feel like this is the situation where San Antonio is going to minimize his minutes or, feel. And again, to the point, I read that study as well, and I was like, load management ain't never make no sense to me. Like, it ain't never make no sense.
Hold up. So you didn't believe it for 1 second?
Not a minute. It never made any sense to me. I've been watching the NBA for almost 40 years, dude. I ain't never seen folks all of a sudden feel the need that they need to miss 3 or 4 games because we're tired, bro, listen, y'all are some of the best athletes in the world. Y'all are in the best shape. I understand the game has changed and it has evolved, but just making people are paying their money to come see athletes play. Your job is to get up and play. Like, that's the bottom line. Like, that's what you chose to do as a profession. And so to say to me, well, we now all of a sudden, no, we don't all of a sudden need you to sit down and do nothing. Like, what profession you chose. I didn't see a difference in any player who's quote unquote load managed or whose load was managed. I didn't see any difference in those players. I just did not. Like, I didn't feel like a player played better because they sat out 4 or 5 additional games than they would have. I didn't see any of that. Now, if somebody has an injury and they're nursing injury and they want to minimize their minutes in order to ensure health as we're moving through the season, you're a playoff team. You want to make sure that you got your best guy when it comes time to getting into April, May, and so forth. That makes sense to me. But if it's November and you telling me, oh, LeBron not about to play because we on load management, bro, get out of here with that. That don't make no sense. Y'all making that shit up, and I'm not cool with it. And no, so I'm glad that they are finally saying it was trash. It didn't make any sense. There's no data to support it. It was never any data to support it. I was making it up the whole time. So with that being said, I think Wemby's going to be just fine. He'll play. He's young. He'll get equipped. He'll get the reps. He'll get development. This doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be rookie of the year. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to have the best rookie season we've ever seen. Doesn't mean any of that. Just simply saying that right now he's as good as advertised, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch him.
It is going to be so much fun to watch him. We have another potential superstar in the making, just a polarizing figure in terms of what he will be. But yeah, I'm glad that you got that off your chest.
I did.
And load management. I appreciate that. You know what? Before we go and pay some bills, I just want to say that I remember when I got married, during my bachelor party, we went to see the Miami Heat versus the Lakers. And there was a question whether LeBron was going to play. It wasn't because he was injured. It was like, let me take some time off. Let me just rest. Thank God he played, because otherwise there would be no point, no point in going to that game.
Well, I don't know, Chris. LeBron might be a bit different though. Now that I think about it, because me and LeBron the same age. It's time. The knees ain't knees and no more. The breathing a little extra heavy, you know what I mean? So it might, Bron might have needed them moments, you know what I mean? But coming up after the break, however, we're going to talk about somebody who may not actually need to be playing. A couple people who actually may not need to be playing. So stick around. We'll be back. Chris, this situation right here that we're about to get into is real. It's real, right? It's real for a few reasons, but it's sad that in 2023 we still have to have these kind of conversations. So Charlotte Hornets forward Miles Bridges just last week returned himself into the police because of a felony domestic violence charge that he got last November. Dude has been in trouble for like the last year for domestic violence incidents with the mother of his child. The first time that he got into it, he was arrested last year in June because he allegedly had assaulted his former girlfriend. And I don't like to use the word alleged because it's clearly documented, so it happened in my opinion. But he allegedly assaulted his former girlfriend, which is also the mother of his children. And they took him into custody. About a month later, he was formally charged with felony assault and child abuse. He pled not guilty. Again, they arraigned him, let him go. He received probation, right? So he ended up changing his plea from not guilty to pleading no contest. And again, they gave him 3 years probation, no jail time. All right. Dude, and I want to make sure that I get this right so that you all understand what he actually received for the charges that he was given. He had to complete 52 weeks of domestic violence counseling, 52 weeks of parenting classes, 100 hours of community service, and he had to take a drug test weekly, only being able to take marijuana if doctors had given him a valid prescription. He was not supposed to own any guns, no ammunition, no weapons, had to pay a $300 restitution fine, a $500 domestic violence fine, and he had to obey a 10-year protective order against the mother of his child. So your baby mama basically said to you, you can't be around me for 10 years. And anytime there was an exchange of children between the two of them, it needed to be done on a neutral site through a third party. Fast forward to a week ago, apparently he and his baby mom got into it again. Somehow, somewhere, specific details had not been released. However, he allegedly, and again, like I said, hate the word alleged because if it's documented to me, it happened. But he was throwing pool balls at the mother of his child's car while his children were in the car. That's where we are. And so I hear this situation, and it bugs me to no end, bothers me to no end, Chris, because throughout all of this, in July of this year, the Hornets gave this man a $7.9 million contract qualifying offer to stay in Charlotte. The NBA is, quote unquote, waiting through the investigation to find out what to do and how to move forward. They gave him a 30-game suspension, but credited him 20 games time served because he didn't play last season and only needing to, finish out the other 10 games to begin this season. What the hell are we doing? What the hell are we doing? And this comes on the heels of a previous situation that we just talked about 2 months ago, if that, with Kevin Porter Jr. and his girlfriend at the time, Kaiser Gondrzak, who is a former WNBA player, as a matter of fact, and the situation where they got into a domestic altercation in a hotel room where he was upset that she fell asleep and locked the door.
Right, that's it.
Fell asleep and locked the door. So we're choking people, and he's facing strangulation charges, which he could result in to 3 years 3 years in jail, up to 7 years max. And my thing is, why are these people still in the NBA? What am I missing? What am I missing? Because, I represent quite a few different outlets. In each one of these outlets, if I did some shit like this, they'd fire me in a heartbeat. It don't matter what the judge says. It doesn't matter what the outcome of the case is. It doesn't matter what the evidence is. The fact is, you are misrepresenting my brand. And you put yourself in a position that these things could even be said about you. We don't need someone like you representing our brand. We just don't. Wish you well. Hope you get your shit together in the future. But we don't need somebody like this representing our brand. What is the NBA doing that these men are still allowed to represent their brand? That you're still tossing out contracts to them? And you know what makes it even worse, Chris? It is October. October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I'm not saying that these things should happen at any time, but of all times, what is the NBA doing, knowing that this is a problem? And in the month of October, no less, where's your stance on that? What are your words on that? As a private entity, what are you doing? Pisses me off to no end.
As it should. And I really commend you for speaking your voice there and sharing all the disgust in how, this is played out. But it's one of those things where you have to realize that, look, if you have a lot of talent, they will. If you have a lot of talent, they're going to be fine. They'll be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to give you a second chance. That's what it is. And here's the other thing, right? Miles Bridges said a while ago, right after the Hornets brought him back, I want to apologize to everybody for the pain and embarrassment that I have caused everyone, especially my family, this year away. I've used it to prioritize just going to therapy and becoming the best person I can be, someone that my family and everyone here can be proud of. A lot of people don't get a second chance, and I want to use a second chance to prove to everyone that I'm the same kid that you drafted 5 years ago. And he, of course, thanked the Hornets organization, NBA, for giving him a second chance. Clearly, that was a lie. Or you just did not follow through on those actions, on that statement. And that is the uncomfortable part about this, where people say, oh, yeah, I'm using this time, my mental health and therapy. And that is extremely important these days, especially with what's going on in the economy, what's going on in the world. But I feel like certain people use that as a way out. It's literally a get out of jail card. You didn't learn shit, bro.
Nothing.
You didn't learn jack. And for you to insult people like that, throw it in their face, knowing what we know now, it just shows you can't be trusted. Doesn't mean you need to be exiled from society. You need to get help, but as you pointed out, you cannot represent an organization that is worth billions of dollars in the Hornets and then also the NBA. You lost that privilege. I'm sorry.
Yes. Say that again. Word again.
You lost that privilege. Privilege. And what's so infuriating, Terrika, is when you see there's so many people online who are like, oh, she's probably lying, or she that's not real, or give him a second chance. Give him a third chance. Like, nah, it's all cool. Oh, I forgot the other thing. Kai Jones, right? Kai Jones, acting a little goofy, weird, maybe he's on some stuff, whatever. Don't really care. He gets released from the Hornets after he said, trade me. He ain't hurt nobody, to our knowledge. Ain't harmed nobody. And they release him. And people are, his teammates, I believe, were clowning him or voicing their displeasure with what he was doing, with how he was dancing and how he appeared to be on camera. But with Miles Bridges, you got players in the NBA, not just teammates, for like, when he made that post, I think, about coming back to the NBA, they were like, yeah, missed you, bro, or glad to see you back, or something like that, to that effect. It's one thing to not say anything because the NBA is a quote-unquote brotherhood, and they're not going to talk about potential coworkers or their current coworkers. But for you to acknowledge, like, yo, yeah, we missed you. Like, yeah, you've been through a lot. What are you saying to NBA fans? And not, like, what are you doing?
That's my thing right there, Chris. The NBA has tons of women and domestic violence survivors, I would imagine, who are fans of this sport. And to essentially say, listen, we don't care about all that. We just gonna let due diligence play its role. At the end of the day, I from a legal aspect, and I'm really good friends with Natalie. and she's a producer for NBC. And Natalie and I have had this conversation many times where we're like, listen, you want to still play basketball? You can. You could play basketball overseas. You could play basketball in another league. You could play basketball outside on the corner. You know what I'm saying? Miles Bridges, you're a Spartan, bro. I've been watching you since you were in college. You represent what I represent. You get what I'm saying? You can play basketball any and everywhere. But the fact that you want to play basketball in the NBA and the National Basketball Association, that is a privilege. Being talented does not automatically guarantee you that you should have a spot in the NBA. That is a privilege. It is a privilege that you lost the moment that you decided that you couldn't handle your emotions like a man, like an adult, like a grown person, and you felt the need that you needed to put your hands on somebody. And the fact that you did it in front of your children, not once but twice, you are now perpetuating a behavior that they are going to either, one, be traumatized for the rest of their lives, or B, think that that shit is okay. Either way, you need to be done. You need to be done, bro. It is really just that simple.
Yeah, you need to be done. You don't need to be playing in NBA, and I would dare say you don't even need to be playing basketball anymore. You lost that privilege like overseas.
Done.
But speaking of done, we're done for this portion of the show. But after we get our advertisements in, we're going to have a more lighthearted conversation where we give our hottest takes in the jump ball segment. And they're not hot takes just to be, flamboyant or outrageous. We actually are fired up about these issues, whether we were doing it on camera or in audio format or not, right? So, yeah, make sure y'all stay tuned for that after the break.
All right, Chris, it's our jump ball segment, and I'm coming in hot already. So we just found out that earlier this week that the Phoenix Mercury has found their new head coach. For those who may not be aware, the Phoenix Mercury fired their coach, Vanessa Nygaard, last year mid-season, and assistant coach Nikki Blue took over for the remainder of the season. Well, looks like now they're going to be hiring Nate Tibbetts, who is an Orlando Magic assistant coach, to take over the head coaching job. And I think that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. The most ridiculous thing I ever heard. And it don't have nothing to do with you personally, Nate. I hope you're a good guy. I bet you're a good guy. You might even be a good coach. But you are now the highest paid coach in the WNBA. And it is ridiculous that we are continuing to see people come in from outside of the WNBA and continue to get these jobs and continue to be the highest paid. Like my man Kurt Miller ain't sitting over there in a Sparks uniform, 450 plus wins, and you ain't got your money yet. But we bringing in NBA coaches off the street and keeping my man. Listen, you know what? Hot take. I'm gonna keep it quick. I'm gonna have some thoughts. It's still some information that I'm pretty sure is gonna come out about this. So you know what? I'm gonna wait till next week. I'm gonna wait till my girl Didi back next week.
Right.
I'm gonna wait till more info is back next week, and then I'm gonna really go off. But just know, I'm hot.
Terrika is hot. She gonna be cooking up in the pot, baby, cooking up in the pan when we come back for next week's episode. So I'm looking for y'all. All of y'all should be looking forward to what her thoughts are gonna be in a more extensive way, right? And speaking of, something being like really fire in a good way. How about this? Reebok just made Shaquille O'Neal the president of basketball operations and Allen Iverson the vice president. Their jobs are to help the community aspect with Reebok, but also bring in new star athletes to sign on to be part of their brand for Reebok, because they have been dormant in the basketball industry for quite some time since, Shaq, when he got his shoe, and AI. And what does Shaq do in his first order of business? We just found this out as we were recording the episode. Signed LSU star, as we all know, Angel Reese, you can't see me, to be the company's first basketball athlete of the next generation. And Shaq said, for my first appointment, it's had to be the GOAT. There was no one making a bigger impact on the game right now than Angel Reese. Now, she was a company GOAT. She called it GOAT. They both went to LSU. So I'm going to let that slide. I got no issue with that. That's like when Megan Rapinoe said Sue Bird had the greatest, I think, career of any women athlete or something like that. And we know that ain't true. But I love that because you supporting your woman. You gas it. What you want to say, Terrika?
I'm good. I'm here for it. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here for it. What I'm not here though for is the fact that A'ja Wilson, as we're talking about shoe deals, still doesn't have a signature shoe from Nike. Like I had her PEs, like the Cosmic 2 Unities, the red and white, with the Ace of shoelaces colors. And I had people when I was at the office, like, yo, those are really sick, man. Where'd you get those? Blah, blah, blah. So everybody knows they can make some good shoes for her. But how about make a signature deal? Like, what does this woman have to do? This woman has won an WNBA championship. She's got 2 MVPs. She's got 5 All-Star recognitions to her name. She's been Defensive Player of the Year twice, back-to-back. Oh, by the way, she's got a statue in South Carolina, if we want to go all the way back there, because she's got a whole lot of accolades there. But she still cannot get, she has one of the most dynamic and charming personalities the game has seen. Not just, in the W, but in general. She is so refreshing because she does not play it cool. Like, she's like, yeah, if I feel a way, I'm going to let people know about it. I'm going to speak about these different issues. But Nike's still holding out. But what are we doing? What, Terrika, It's like,
the company that first gave Cheryl Swoop the first ever shoe deal for a female still ain't offered a shoe deal to A'ja Wilson. Just, that's that bullshit right there.
Hell yeah. It's like, I don't know if you watch Scandal, but you remember when Papa Pope, okay, all right, man. When Papa Pope is telling Kerry Washington's character, Olivia Pope, like, yo, you have to be what? You have to be twice as good to get half of what they have.
Great.
He was in his fucking bag. I'm sorry.
Bravo, Chris. You're in the wrong profession.
Hey,
acting is your calling.
Nah, I don't need that, man. I don't need that lifestyle. I'm good. Hollywood ain't for me. But what is for me is making sure black women get their proper due and proper respect. So, A'ja Wilson, if Nike's playing games with you, they don't see your worth, Reebok, Shaq, and AI, make it happen. Let's go. That is something that I would love to see. And on that note, that is going to be end of our debut episode for the 3on3 pod. Make sure to listen to the 3on3 podcast on iHeartRadio, the iHeartRadio app, or wherever you get your podcast. We got Didi Richards coming back, as we already said. Next Wednesday, we got a brand new episode. And yeah, Terrika is going to get her takeoff about that magic assistant getting that cheddar from the Phoenix Mercury. Stay with us, baby. We'll see you later.